Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time of the day it is that you're listening to this. My good name is Yvette Wanzuu, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Walking with Wanzuu podcast, episode 3 of this particular season. And I am so glad for you to be joining us. It's been amazing so far, and I am so happy that you're here. If you're an oldie but a goodie, welcome back. If you're new here, this is a space where I like to talk about all things life experiences, but most importantly, from my own personal experiences. Think of it as a little love letter from me to me, but now sharing it with you. How is March treating you so far? Happy belated International Women's Day. We are so grateful and we are celebrating all the women and all the mothers in the house. We love you. We see you, we appreciate you. I always tell myself, all the queens, all the young queens. Okay, so let's pause for a moment and be incredibly inclusive. We are out here trying to celebrate all the queens, all the older queens, the young queens, and we just want to say that it's a beautiful time to be alive, to see how women are putting themselves out there. They're raising other women, they're breaking glass ceilings, they're out here doing the most, and we love to see it. We love to see it. I think there's a good chunk of African countries now, including our neighbor Tanzania, that has had their first female president. And if that is not awesomeness at its best, I don't even know what else to call it. So I'm just proud, and I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to be here. It's a beautiful time to be alive, and it's an even more beautiful time to be a woman. How have you guys been? I've been good. I've just been doing life, adulting, parenting, working. And when this year started, I remember telling myself that I really wanted to build my mental grit. Okay, just really wanting to work on my limiting beliefs, kind of really use my brain to its full potential. And when I tell you that for a while now, like for the better part of quarter 1, I have just been out here really being put in situations that have really stretched my brain power. And when I tell you I have put myself in situations where it's way away out of my comfort zone, it's true. But it's working, guys. It's working because I can feel the way my brain was here shrinking and shriveling and dying. It's coming together. I have done things that I didn't think I was able to do. I have handled situations that I was in ways that I am incredibly proud of. And I can't wait to see what the next part of the year has in store for me. And so as I experience all these things, all these wonderful things, and trying to work through my new year resolutions, I thought, what a better time to come and talk to you about growing joys and growing pains. Now, most of the time we like to talk about growing pains, but sometimes it's very easy to kind of feed and focus on the negative and forget to incorporate the positive as well. And so I thought, if I'm going to talk about growing pains, why not come here and talk to you about growing joys as well? Now, life for me I am intentionally trying to make it as well-rounded as I can. And so I feel like in every aspect of your life, depending on where you are at the moment, you'll experience growing pains and growing joys in different areas. You'll experience it professionally, you'll experience it in your platonic friendships, you'll experience it in your romantic relationships, you'll experience it just personally as a person, as an individual, as a being, as who you are. And then you'll experience it in parenting if you're a parent, or in your family relationships if you have siblings, or if you like kind of live with your family or you associate with them closely. So for me professionally, I went into the year really wanting to give more value, just kind of get new skills. Of course, every time towards the end of the year, people always regroup in the workplace and the feedback is always given. And so I came into this new year thinking I really want to work on the feedback that I was given. The good I want to amplify, the not so good I want to try and change and make it better, and all of that. And I think the thing that scared me the most was coming into the new year this year is, and I think I even mentioned it in the last episode, is that a lot of people that I know lost their job. And as a result, their livelihood was affected. And for me, my heart also really goes out to the men, especially because we know that in a lot of African households, it's the men that hold the greater hand of responsibilities. And so I can just imagine, for someone who was able to provide and kind of do what it is that they need to do, now they're in a situation where they've lost their jobs and they're just wondering what next. And so for me, the growing pain has been to kind of embrace the season that I'm in and embrace where I am professionally at the moment. Do I feel like that is where my potential is exploited the most? Not necessarily. Do I feel like my job engages all my talents and all my awesomeness, and like I can incorporate that into my day-to-day work? To some extent, yes, but also to some extent, no. And so the growing pain has been to kind of just fit into the role and accept the season that I'm in the moment, and just say that, okay, maybe this may not be where I would love to be now, but it's where I am. And so how about I make the most of it? I do what I can to the best of my ability. I put in the appropriate structures, put in the appropriate boundaries. And sometimes work can really be depressing, guys. I know of times when I leave home, I'm good, I've listened to music, I've done school drop-offs, and immediately I get to work, I start having migraines that don't make sense. I start feeling like I'm having the runs. And maybe that's just your body telling you, we are tired, we don't want to be here, we want to be somewhere else, we want to transition. But there's a reason. I've been telling myself that there's a reason why I'm there. And there's a reason I've been here for so long, and I still continue to be here. So I might as well make the most out of it. And that has been the growing pain for me. Now, the growing joys, of course, are when I do a project, or I kind of plan around something and I do it and I execute it really, really well and I get good feedback. That gives me so much joy, because at the end of the day, I always want to feel like I am giving my employer value and not like I'm being paid to just do a lot of that thing. So there's that. Now let's come into the tricky part, which is in friendships. Now, I lost a number of friendships last year, and I know that I've made significant changes personally in terms of just who I am, the things that I value, and the things that I purpose to do in this year. And one thing that I noticed was, in as much as I have friends who do that for me, I am also the friend who makes things happen. I support wholeheartedly, without limits. I make things happen if and when I need, someone needs me to. But I've also gotten to a point where I have realized that sometimes I overcommit, and sometimes I show up to my own detriment or to my own expense, at my own expense. And so I'm learning how to reel it back, and first of all give myself the love that I also freely and also willingly give to my friends and my loved ones. And as a result, the growing joy in that is, of course, now I'm pouring into my own cup, and I'm kind of working on myself, working on the good, the bad, just loving on myself, extending grace, but also working on the attributes that I have that I'm not particularly proud of and we love to do better at. And the growing pain is having to cut ties. The growing pain is having to say no when every fiber of your body is telling you, just say yes and work around things. If someone needs a favor, someone needs something, or you're at a point. I think there's something to be said about having friendships that last for a season. Sometimes we drag along friendships and interactions, yet they have served their purpose for the season or you were in at the time, and it's kind of time to allow things to either automatically or naturally drift, or to just embrace the season that you're in. And sometimes people drift apart in friendships and they come together, and sometimes it's always not about strife. Sometimes you're just pursuing different things in life at that particular stage, and you might reconnect in future or you might not, and all you'll have are the fond memories and the amazing memories that you have of the friendship and what it is that you cultivated and what it is that you did and accomplished together. And that's a very hard growing pain that I've had to kind of navigate and go through. I think sometimes also when relationships fall apart, both platonic and romantic, it's very easy to kind of feed into negativity. It's very easy to find something to help you be indifferent towards the other person, so that even when you miss them, or when you feel like, oh man, I really, looking back, I really miss that, I wish we could reconnect with this person, when you hold on to that hate, it kind of helps you cope. But also letting go of friendships from a point of, you know what, it's fine. It doesn't always have to end in strife. It doesn't have to be bad blood. It's just, it is what it is. And I can move on slowly or freely, or just move on past whatever it is that has happened, or move on into a different season of life. That is a growing pain that I feel like we don't talk about enough. Early this year, I got into a space where for a moment I actually thought I would be in a very beautiful relationship. And I don't want to cancel it out, because I really want to learn to speak life into the things that I love and the things that I hope for. And but for one reason or another, things didn't pan out as I expected or as I anticipated. And I've noticed that when it comes to romantic interests, the default setting for me would either be to pursue relentlessly and kind of prove to this person why they should be with me, or it would be to kind of default into being indifferent and into kind of faulting the other person or painting them in bad lights. And the growing pain in that for me has been to just accept that sometimes things just don't happen the way you'd want them to be. Sometimes things don't pan out in the way you had anticipated or the way you had pictured. Sometimes people are just not ready to meet you where you are at, or sometimes there's no compatibility, or you're just, for that particular season in life, you're just chasing different things. Or sometimes you pursue something and read into things, like sometimes it was meant to just be companionship for a long time, for a good time, and not for a long time. And that can be a difficult pill to swallow. But now the growing joy in it is learning to accept the seasons and holding on to the beautiful to the beautiful times. I think there's something to be said about wholesome experiences, even if you would wish that you would recreate them as many times as you would, and that you would hold on to them for a lifetime. Sometimes you experience things just to teach you something, or to kind of serve a purpose for the moment, and then they transition into something else. And the growing joy is just holding on to all these beautiful memories and all these beautiful experiences, and saying, you know what, when the time is right, perhaps I'll have that for the long haul. But for now, it was what it was, and it was beautiful at the time. And at least I know, because I always feel like it's better to have loved and lost than not to have loved at all. And that's something that I keep learning every day as I go. And of course, we go through the motions. There are times that you feel an overwhelming sense of needing companionship, and then the times when you just wake up in the morning and I'm like, you know what, I can do bad all by myself, I'm okay. So that in terms of romantic relationship, that has been my growing pain and my growing joy. And then now in parenting, I know I have great admiration for people who practice gentle parenting. And single parenting can be overwhelming, because you have all these responsibilities and all these things that you need to do. At the same time, life is coming at you, is happening to you and for you and all of that. And you have a lot going on. And when you don't have a companion to kind of share responsibilities or bounce off ideas, back and forth, it can be a bit overwhelming. And sometimes you find yourself snapping, sometimes you find yourself doing or making decisions, or doing things that you're not necessarily proud of. And so exercising to just learn to come out of my feelings and come out of myself, and not lose myself through, even as I go through the motions of life or experience life, both the pleasant and the unpleasant experiences, to not allow that to affect my parenting. For me to try and be as objective as possible, for me to try and be as gracious as possible. And the growing joy is just seeing my child thrive, and just being in awe of me actually being a good and intentional parent. And I've also learned, and that this is the growing pain, that it's hard. It's hard to come out of yourself and come out of your feelings and constantly catch yourself, so that you don't project, and you do the best that you can with what you have, however much that oscillates. So there are times when you don't have a lot of emotional bandwidth. There are times you don't have a lot of resources, even if it's financial. There are times you don't have a lot of energy. So doing the most that I can with what I have. And that can be a lot. And then the last thing is the growing joys and the growing pains of myself as a person. I spent the better part of last year working on my body, because I used to have a really bomb body in my teens, coming into my early 20s as well. And then for some reason at some point I just lost weight. And for the life of me, I couldn't gain it. And I know that times when I was really keen on doing exercises, I was putting a lot of protein in my diet and just kind of really trying to work hard to get to a point where I'm comfortable with the weight that I have. And this oscillates, because sometimes when you put in you add certain things in your lifestyle that you don't do every day. You tell yourself, I'll be eating this and I'll be doing that. When life happens and life starts lifing, and you're going through seasons and you're trying to figure things out, it's very easy to fall off the bandwagon. And I've fallen out of the bandwagon so many times. And this has taught me also not to judge people who go into the healthy lifestyle trying to lose weight, because the same way people struggle with consistency, and people struggle with what it is that they breaking bad habits that lead to them having the body that they do not want, and what is not their ideal body for them, is the same struggles that you have when you're gaining weight. It's just that you're both on the other extreme end of the spectrum. And so the growing pain for me is just to be gracious to myself, on days when I feel like I've let myself down, I feel like I haven't eaten well or eaten enough, on days when I feel like I could have worked out but I've chosen not to. And the growing joy of just embracing the journey and just saying, you know what, this is the body I have now in this moment. I'm going to dress it the best way I can. I'm going to take care of it the best way I can. And I'm also going to love on it and appreciate it. And that starts to reflect in how it is that I dress, in how it is that I carry myself. I know for the longest time, I've always rushed on the road. And that's because my natural predisposition is usually to walk really fast. But I started wearing heels a lot differently. And if you put on heels, then you also know that you can't be out here low-key jogging and brisk walking in heels. It's not possible. And so what that has taught me to do is to walk really slowly, take in my environment, not slouch, not feel like I'm running away from the universe and the people in it. And as a result, I feel more comfortable, I feel happy, I feel smart. I love myself. When I step out, I'm stepping out in confidence, I'm feeling good about myself. And that's a growing joy in that particular aspect. The other thing is to be very, as I go, just identifying traits that I'm not particularly a fan of, that I embody as a person, and actively loving myself enough to accept myself, flaws and all, but also loving myself into better choices, better practices, better habits, and loving myself into change. that has been incredible. And I'm not even going to sit here and act like it has come full circle. It hasn't. It's every day, I'm always trying to unlearn something and relearn something and learn something. And it's just, I'm just a work in progress like everybody else. One thing life will teach you is in every season, you have your growing pains and your growing joys. And it's up to you when you're in a season that is difficult or when you're in a season that is required to be a lesson or is a test to find the growing joys where the growing pains are. Because I promise you, for everything that is around you, there's always something to be grateful for. There's always something to learn from. I am sending you so much love and light. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Feel free to share with me in the comment section down below. What are some of the growing joys and the growing pains that you've experienced, that you just experienced, or you're currently experiencing? It's always so lovely to hear from you and to get your feedback. Once again, don't forget to follow us on Instagram. The page is Walking with Wanzuu, and on YouTube as well, the page is Walking with Wanzuu. Tell a friend to join this incredible community, but most importantly, to listen to the episode. And please subscribe if you haven't. It really helps my content. It also just helps to motivate me to feel like, you know what, we're doing something, we're creating impact, however big or small it is, and it gives me the psych to want to keep coming back over and over and over again. I am rooting for you. I'm celebrating you. I am sending you so much love and light. Until the next episode, I'm going to love you and leave you. See you on the next one. Bye.